Hi, welcome. This wouldn't be a live stream if we didn't have audio issues. So welcome to the Pixels May live stream. I'm Jean, and today I'll be showing you some dice, giving you some updates, and then answering your questions on Pixels and everything blinking light dice. All right, so let's start with the most exciting. Colorways. So let me go over to the top-down camera. I have a bunch of dice here for you guys, and I will be sort of showing off the different colorways that we have, because we have a bunch more production and pre-production prototypes today. And in fact, I'll take this opportunity to talk about the number inking on some of these colorways. So let's go over what we have here. We have the Midnight Galaxy dice, which is the one we've probably shown the most on stream before. This little guy here, I probably have some that actually will light up. Hold on one second. Some of these dice are in like factory mode, so they don't immediately light up. Yeah, we have the Midnight Galaxy. So again, if you haven't paid too much attention, the Midnight Galaxy is a mostly translucent die that will shine light through the entire face. And so for that reason, we have elected to paint the numbers, right? So you can read it when it's off. In fact, in the last update, we sent a survey to backers about what colors they would prefer on the ink dice. And so this here is the color we picked for Midnight Galaxy. It looks really nice. It's a nice contrast, and we really, really like it. This is what it'll look like on different dice. So as you can see, we have pre-production samples of the other colors as well. I don't know that I have, all of them here, but there's certainly most of them. So yeah, here are D4, D8, here's a D10. There's some other somewhere I have to find. Just give me 1 second. Here's a pipped. The pip will probably not get numbers, the pips inked, since the LEDs are like right underneath. It seems kind of wasteful. But yeah, this is the Midnight Galaxy pipped. We have the Auroras. So Auroras are the ones that are actually, in the end, the most different from the very, very first pictures. But I think you'll agree it's for the better. This is a really, really beautiful color. And the addition of a little bit of white in it really makes it like really bright on camera. And in reality, it sort of like diffuses the light even more. So it really ends up shining through the entire face inside of the dice. And so for these, we went with a darker, inking. I cannot remember the name of this, but we'll figure it out. One thing you might notice is on some of these, the counterweight is a lot more visible than on others. So if, for instance, you look at this 20 here, you can barely tell that there's a counterweight underneath that 20. Whereas on this D10 and this Fate here, or I should say Fudge, you can really see it. This is something that we are correcting, or I should say improving, by actually painting over the counterweight in production, so that it actually sort of disappears from the face here. We'll try to do the same with the copper coil. No guarantee exactly as to how much we can make it disappear, but the counterweight for sure we can make it at least less noticeable. So again, like I said, these are pre-production samples, so we can do our last checks and make sure everything fits together and all that stuff. And while they're already amazing, the production samples that we ship out will actually, the production units that we ship out will actually look even better. So, but yeah, so there's a D12, for instance, a D10, a can't remember where the other ones are, but we have a number of them. And so the last one for the translucent dice is obviously the clears. And really, I'm surprised at how much I end up liking the clears. Clears were a stretch goal during the campaign, and I was like, oh, you know, it's an easy one to make, right? You don't have to do anything special. And in the end, especially when the dice are really nice and polished, it's really cool. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it way more than I expected. So for the clears, in fact, we had two choices in the survey that we sent to the backers between two different colors. And after the results came in, it was pretty clear that the copper was the winner. So that's what we'll do. And it honestly, it looks so good that I think no one will complain. You know, once again, for the pipped, we're not going to paint the pips. You know, that would kind of ruin the whole thing. And yeah, those clears are actually surprisingly cool. Like the way the light sort of, I don't know, refracts or reflects through the inside of the clear resin just really makes them look really, really nice. So these are the three translucent ones. And then we have a couple others, which are the opaque ones, which we don't have as many of, but we have a few. And the reason for that is because they're more difficult to make. All right, so these are the ones where the light only shines through the numbers, right? So here's a D8. Let me find one that turns on of these. Let's see. Hello? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so here's a D20. So this one we've we've shown before. Basically, this is the onyx. These two are onyx. This picked here, I don't know why it's not turning on. Let's see. Where's the 6? Let me make sure I reset it. Okay, well, this one has a little bit of a problem. We'll ignore it. But yeah, the opaque ones have a really interesting look because the light only shining through the numbers. So here, let me see if this one is charged up. Yeah, there we go. All right, 80s. So again, pre-productions, you can tell, like, some of these, like, there's a little bit of an issue in some of the numbers. So these are all the things that we're working out with the silicone factory, making our molds, and the dice casting factory. We have the hematites, which are these. And so these, they're a little darker than they should be, probably. We are going to see what we do about this, because right now they're very close to a midnight, right, when they're not lit up. So we may tweak it a little bit more, but for the moment, these are midnight. Here, let me turn it on. Hello? Not this one. Let's see. Another one, maybe? No, not this one. Oh, yeah. Turn this one on. Yeah, this is still in validation mode. We've shown this before. Like, this is how the dice identify themselves to be, like, tested. It's just RGB. But anyway, so yeah, so these are all the colors and the colorways that we're getting ready to offer. And yeah, I thought I would share those with you, show you how cool they all look. And honestly, yeah, like, these are just really, really, really fun. So I have several more updates to go over. So first off, the ink numbers, like I said, we've elected to ink the numbers. The results from you guys were pretty overwhelming on the test that we did last time. So I'm sharing the results of the questions. Yeah, should we ink the Midnight Galaxy? Yeah, 93%, 94% said yes. Same with Aurora and with the Rich Copper. So Rich Copper won over the Pale Copper, and I'm glad it did, because in person it's actually way cooler. So but yeah, so these are the colorways. and the inking. So we'll be asking the factories to paint all the dice now. It's a minimal edition, and I think it makes a huge difference. We'll also, by the way, include instructions in the little booklets on how to remove the ink if you're one of the few people that will want to change the numbers, the colors on your dice. We'll make sure and tell you how. Although there's a chance you already know. So the second topic is DevKit D20. So those of you who did back at the and get a DevKit in the campaign, you should have received this week an email asking you for your mailing address so that we can send you your DevKit. And I think you guys are going to be super pleased. They're beautiful. I didn't show them here on camera. And I think you guys will be super excited. So if you haven't paid attention to your inbox and you watch this, make sure you look for that email and reply to give us your mailing address so we can send you your dev kits. They'll probably start shipping first week of June. They are being, final tested and updated right now. But everything is on track, and they should be in your hands very soon. We're really excited. On that note, in fact, I will give you a quick update on software, development, dev kit support. Just to mention that, even though we don't talk about it every month because it's difficult to talk about, development, coding stuff, we are making, progress every day and every month. And so we have support for Pixels right now in many platforms and many languages. So just to name a few, we have, TypeScript/JavaScript packages. We have iOS native support already. We have .NET support for Windows. We have a Unity plugin if you want to make a video game with the dice. We have some more C++ native partially done, I think. I can't remember exactly. And we have, of course, React Native support for TypeScript, meaning if you end up writing an application with React Native so that you can target, iOS and Android just as likely, you'll be able to write a Pixels application. So hopefully by the time DevKit recipients get their dice, they should have everything they need to get started. Oh, of course, there's also a Python package that's probably partial. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, our goal is to support as many platforms as we can so that you can make as many integrations as you want and play with the dice as much as you want. Let me make sure, I covered everything for the dev kits. And so then I want to sort of give you some production updates and some interesting things that are happening, interesting problem solving. The first thing, however, you saw me use here, if I go back to the picture-in-picture, was this this new version of the large charging case. This is still a prototype. It's a different color than the previous one. The previous one I showed on stream was this one, right? It was gray. This is a new updated version. It has working LEDs, working chargers. If I put one of our dice on it, you can see that it will start showing the little charging. And in fact, if you, for instance, put it incorrectly, right, or remove it too quickly, it will sort of do the blinking like, hey, there's something wrong. Yeah, there we go. There it's happy. By the time, so this, as long as it's charging, the die will, have this sort of breathing animation. And then by the time it's full, it will change color to a green. And we're planning to, let you customize that as well. Because one thing I already noticed with the large charging case is that when you start having, I need to find some dice that are alive. There we go. When you start having a bunch of dice charging, it kind of creates a cool little pattern that I think is super fun. And so I know that we're going to want to change the color of that pattern for sure. Anyway, here, let me put one over here. Yeah, see, it kind of creates this random pattern of lights. So we obviously don't want the dice to use too much power by, turning the LEDs on too strongly. But I think there's some cool stuff that you can do. And of course, when you're done, or if you don't want the dice to do anything, you can just close the case, and then when you open it back up, the dice are all happy and start showing you that they're charging. They were still charging, right, while the case was closed. They were just completely off. Anyway, so there would be a button on the side here. It's a little blown out, but there's little indication LEDs, which of course are RGB. A little button that will do status indicator. Right now, this itself is in what's the word I'm looking for? Is in validation mode, so you won't see anything. But yeah, that's a little show of the large charging case. So let me answer a couple questions on this topic actually that I'm seeing from Twitch. Ashabel008 was asking, will we be able to control light intensity? Can we dim them? Yes, absolutely. And that's something that we've talked about several times. There will be sort of like a global intensity probably control in the app, so that you can say, okay, I don't want my dice to be brighter than this much. And then of course you'll be able to control the intensity individually, like of the patterns that you choose or the profile that you decide to put on your dice. So I will answer another couple questions here before I move on to the next thing. Support for Android and Kotlin. Native support for Android, absolutely. It's next in line. I do not know what language will actually support out of the box. It may be a Java or something else. I don't know actually. I don't do our Android development, so I'm not sure what the best language will be, but possibly Kotlin. Yeah, I don't know. I think because this is a low level quote unquote library, it doesn't necessarily have to use a really fancy language, but I don't know actually what that means for, should it be Java, C++, Kotlin, whatever. This is something that Olivier, our developer, will figure out. I'm sure, in fact, he already has an answer in mind. Somebody else, yeah, Will Grimes on Twitch. Will developers such as myself who didn't get the dev kit be able to write software for this after we get our dice? Yes, 100%. In fact, every pixel is a dev kit, essentially. We just labeled dev kits differently because people would be getting them first, and at the time there won't be a huge number of users yet, right? So really the first in lines are developers, so we call them dev kits. They will look different, so that at least they're special for the people who get theirs first. However, functionally they're exactly the same, and so every pixel will work as a dev kit, right? There is absolutely no difference. Question from Top. Hi, Top. How are you, John? The team all good? Thanks, Top. It's a lot of work getting everything ready, but it's really nice to see good progress, problems being solved, and production moving forward. We're still fighting every battle every day of sorting issues. Well, here's an example. Like this die, the coil isn't quite perfectly aligned, right? This is something that should not pass QA. and we need to make sure we work with the factory to prevent this before it's cast, right? Because now this die is pretty unusable, or I should say unsellable, right? So, you know, there's a number of issues like this that we're working through, you know, and making all the pieces of jigs and tooling and processes for verifying everything. And that takes a ton of work. So it's, you know, it's exhausting, but it's nice. Like we're making progress so much faster than we have been in the past that it's really, really pleasant. Oh yeah, I didn't show this, right? I don't know if I have shown this before. This is the single charger, right? So each die you get will come in one of these. Whoop, here's a D20, right? And you can close it. And now the die is safe. You know, there's a little bit of foam on the inside to hold it nice and secure so it doesn't rattle around. And then you can just take your die. If you want to charge, you just plug a USB-C here. Remember, during the campaign, it was USB micro, and then people complained and were like, we gotta have USB-C. So anyway, so we made a USB-C, which I really like. It's really nice. And so yeah, little logo on the top, because why not? And then when you take your die out, it says, hello, happy to see you. Right? So this is my favorite part, to be honest. Every time you open the die, whoop, it's like it's waking up and saying hello. I really think this is gonna make people happy. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, the technical. Sorry, just because I have to nerd out on this. The technical part of this is actually even cooler. It actually took a while to get the LED to turn on like immediately. Because at first it didn't, and if you look at like old videos and stuff, you'll notice that it doesn't actually. But now it lights up immediately while the rest of the system is booting up, kind of like an OS that's showing you like a splash screen, right? And I'm really proud of that. So anyway, here, let me put this one back away and move on for a minute. To talk about some of the cool little changes. Hold on one second while I go over, because I see some more questions have come in. Of course, Pledge Manager to general public. No date yet. Obviously, we were planning on Q2. If it is Q2, it's going to be the very end of June, but most likely it's going to be after that. I can't say for sure because we're still waiting on some more of the production prototypes to have all the dice in the, completely as delivered version, right? Not early prototype made by me in my garage, but, out of the factory, etc. So we can have, proper pictures and videos of the actual items that you'll be getting, right? So same thing, for instance, with the chargers and all these stuff, to make sure that you guys know exactly what you're getting and exactly what it looks like. But we're close, right? So I don't imagine it's going to be June. It's going to be soon after that. So that's the plan for right now. I'm keeping it vague because I've been obviously awful at estimating times this far. So rather than put my foot in my mouth, I'll just say, soon with a TM to it. But once we do, we'll open pre-sales as well for non-backers to pre-order their dice. Obviously, if you order your die when we open the Pledge Manager and the pre-sales, you will essentially be at the back of the line, right? We're going to deliver to all our backers first before we deliver to any other pre-order, right? Another question here from Giuseppe. Will we be able to make a game in Unity that uses the die as controller? Yes, absolutely. In fact, the original die app, which is in my pocket. The original Pixels app. Oops. There we go. Let me not share my password with everyone. The original Pixel app, which I will open here, is made with Unity. Yeah, right. So we're moving away from this because for a UI, Unity is not great, right? It's a game engine after all. But at the time of the Kickstarter campaign, this was what I knew best, so I made the UI in Unity. But with native support through React Native in our case, we're able to get much better performance and much smoother feel with controls that look like they belong in on the mobile device, not that don't look like game controls. So but it's absolutely already possible, and in fact I highly encourage it. I really think you can make it a really fun single player RPG, right, on an iPad or something, and just roll dice to fight. Let me see, something else. Karis Ashworth, would we be able to get a kit of the inside of the dice to make your own housing? Especially, can we create our own dice by buying the kit, etc.? Yes, it's something that we plan to do. It's not going to be immediately available, but it's something that I've mentioned and been wanting to do for a long time, which is to essentially release cores of the dice. So we probably wouldn't, here I have a D20 internal core here. We probably wouldn't release it in this way because this is way too fragile. There's nothing, but we would do a really thin sort of casting around it, kind of how we do the initial casting for the solid ones, right? So we have an initial casting here of clear, or I should say translucent white, right? Not too white because otherwise it's too opaque, but translucent enough for the light to go through, that then we cast the second shape around. And so we probably would do something similar to that for makers and etc. But yeah, because I would love to support custom dice, custom makers, and custom fonts and designs. We don't have to have we're very fortunate that we don't have to slap our logo on everything because nobody's going to mistake it for something else. Let's see, another question. Is it always the same wake up animation, or is it possible to change it? It's possible to change it. However, currently it's only one, right? Like, so you can change it, but it's always going to play that animation. I don't see a reason not to allow, a random one out of multiple animations. I think that's kind of a neat idea, actually. Yeah, I think that could be really cool. But yeah, you can customize it. You can change the, low battery power animation. You can change, basically any animation. We'll probably end up like hiding those under like advanced settings type of thing, so that people, only change those when they kind of know what they're doing, so that they don't end up, for instance, removing the low battery notification and then their die is discharged and they don't understand what's going on and the die doesn't tell them, or I don't know, something like that, right? Like maybe there's some reason we might make it a little bit more difficult to get to, but honestly, there's no reason to not be able to change it. So that's what we're doing. You will be able to change it. Yeah, I should handle more dice while I speak, just because it's fun. And so, do you have near the initial pip D6 you use as profile pic to show it next to the factory one? Oh my god, not here. No, that's such a great suggestion, Top. I wish I would, because yeah, it's gone through a lot of revisions, and yeah, it would be fun to watch side by side. I'll try to make that one. There's there's a picture on the Kickstarter page where you see the first D6 prototype, and then the PIP D6, etc. It would be fun to watch next to these. But I mean, obviously they look mostly the same. Yeah, so let me move before I continue answering questions. I'll show you some more cool stuff. Which one of it is affects battery life. So where did I? Oh no, I was messing with the dice. I think I lost it. Quap. Right. Well. Let's see. 1 second while I find the dice that I'm interested in. There we go. I believe those might be it. Let's see. So, because I want to show you something. I'm not restarting those. Yes. Okay. So, ignoring the other ones. Right. I'm gonna, I'm restarting them basically with the magnet, right, which is kind of like rebooting them on purpose, to show you the difference between these two dice. One of these die actually uses half the power of the other when the lights are on. In fact, less than half, like about 40% the other die. This is another change that we figured out while I was visiting the factory in China, which is, basically new model of LEDs, more power efficient. And so as a result, for, what you'll agree, I believe, is barely noticeable difference in intensity, we can save, more than 2.5 times the amount of power. And again, right, because these are so small, the most power intensive thing on the dice is turning LEDs on, right? You can have the Bluetooth on for days, and the battery would just barely drain, right? But the moment you turn one LED on, it's consuming like 100 times more power, right? Like it's that kind of scale. It's so much, it's so low power compared to, LEDs. But fortunately, we have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, we found, a new model of the same LEDs that we were using that is just more power efficient, and we're going to be using those. So this is great because in combination with what we talked about, I believe it was when I was in China, about a new model of battery that was, would have a longer lifespan. This means that, we're yet again going to be able to increase the life of the battery, because, as you can guess, being completely encased in resin, you cannot change the battery, right? So while we know that, the battery has thousands of life cycles in the data sheet, and that even after those thousands of life cycles, it's not like it goes, just dead. It's just, doesn't hold as much of a charge. The fact that we're also able to improve the battery lifespan. So basically, slightly improved technology means that it's not as stressful on the battery to discharge it, and so that means it lasts longer. Also, not having to recharge it as often is going to be a huge bonus. So yeah, so this is some really, really cool development that we cannot wait to put in your hands. Let me actually look at more questions before I move on. Alpha Dion, yeah, on Twitch is saying, hey, the progress looking good. Did you already visit the factory? Well, thank you. Yes. We did spent an entire month there, basically, and the specifically the die casting factory has been fantastic. In fact, I'm going to show you something else in just a second about the difficulty and the skill that is required. but also is the one on the right less powered? That is correct. The one on the right is the one that has less power. Yeah, you can, if you know and you're looking for it, you can tell, right? It's slightly less intense, but honestly, if you didn't know, you wouldn't be able to tell. And I think for, you know, saving, like I said, 2.5 times the power, it's like the difference between, for one LED, between 12 milliamps and 5 milliamps, right? So that's 40 something percent, or, you know, something like that. For that difference in power, it's totally worth it. So I hope that answered that. So actually, while I'm talking about factory, I wanted to show you guys something, right? So one of the things, if you remember how we make these dice, right? We have these silicon molds, right? And we put the cores in it like so. Like so, right? We put the core in, right? We put 2 actually per pair. Close it, and then we pour the resin through here. So by the time the die comes out, there's a bunch of resin here on the top, which is the one face. And so, you know, at the factory they cut it, but then that leaves a really flat face. In fact, I think I have some with a flat face. Hold on one second. I don't know if you can tell. They all work the same way. So if I can find one of these D20s, because it would be easier on a D20. Actually, I'll take this one. So if you can see here on the the one phase, there's nothing, it's just flat. And so what has to happen after this is they have to laser in the last phase. And in fact, I think I've mentioned this before, but when you buy branded dice, like, you know, if you go to like a marketing website, you know, where they sell you tons of, like, you know, customized stuff, they'll often offer you to customize the 20 face. That's how they do it. Like because they just put the mold such that, you know, the 20 is up, and then instead of lasering a 20, they laser your custom logo. But they have to do it for every single die, right? And somebody has to like sit there and put that in the machine, etc. Well, in our case, we have a slight problem. Or not a problem, but a complication, which is our numbers are pretty deep. I don't know if you can see this. It's going to be hard to see here probably, but the numbers on pixels are fairly deep, and the reason for it is because on the opaque dice we need enough thickness to block the light so that it only shines through the numbers, right? And so if we only had, like, you know, a 0.3 or 0.4 millimeter number depth, the light would shine through the opaque part and it wouldn't look right, and etc. It also makes the die feel more, I don't know, quality. But anyway, but the side effect of that is that it's actually difficult to laser the dice all the way to the white part. Here, if I can go to my desktop, I have a few pictures to show you. Where is it? Laser. There we go. Okay, there we go. Let me make sure this is zoomed in. So, so yeah, you can see on the left and on the right, right? On the right is was the factory's sort of like first attempt at lasering the numbers. And you can tell that, well, they didn't have it on the right orientation, but that's a detail. But also the number doesn't reach all the way down, and it's like burning the sides of the actual one, right? And that was like, it looks really, really crappy. And it's actually pretty difficult to get correctly. But finally now, right, after sort of like many tries and tweaking the laser parameters, they're able to get, you know, the one on the left, which is, you know, a clean one, a nice flat face, and a number that and the hole that reaches all the way to the white part. And so, yeah, this is, you know, the kind of stuff that you have to work through and figure out. to get, you know, the final result. They also, you know, improve the alignment. You know, you can see like if I got the die on the right, I would not be super happy. So, but yeah, and so, but you know, they finally figured it out, and you know, have been super cooperative with us, you know, throughout the entire process. So, if you guys remember or paid attention at all for some of our updates, we mentioned this is actually a factory that we'd considered as a backup. But you know, it's quickly turning out to be our best partner, because they're really working hard and you know, getting everything figured out. In fact, let me show you something else that is really fun. Right, like this here. So here, I'm gonna compare these two, right? So this was, oh, maybe it's not gonna, there we go. So this 20, this is the Aurora, and the one, you know, the insides are exactly the same, right? Same die, and in fact, the counterweight is black on both of them, but somehow the one on the right, it's almost not there, right? And it's because they figured out how to add a little bit of, I think, white paint, like a diluted white paint on top of it, to make sure that it sort of blends into the Aurora color and you can't barely tell. But if we do just a regular casting, this is what it would look like, which is, you know, not great. I mean, I think I'd prefer copper look to this, probably, right? But the fact that by themselves, you know, they figured out how to do this is really fantastic. And I see the question coming in actually from Alpha Dion. The depth is about 1.1 millimeter, something like that. It's, you know, for a die, it's fairly deep. You know, and it's not like a laser cutter or a laser engraver can't reach that depth. Is that it's just that, you know, depending on the material, you have to be careful and do it a certain way. Otherwise, you're going to end up burning the material where you don't want to, right, or something like that. So in any case, I'm super happy they figured it out. And so, sorry, hold on. Yeah, so one more thing. Yes. Again, I'm going to be talking about the Dice Factory and a lot because it's a lot of cool updates. The other thing, right, which I wanted to show was, you know, quality control. So let me show you. I believe, is it this one? Yes. So these are right, dice that had issues right at the factory. You can see this one. It almost looks like pock marks. But yeah, this is, you know, something you have to pay careful attention to, you know, after casting, and to make sure that, you know, there's no problems. Well, this one didn't pass, you know, quality control because of this. You know, this one here, the number is filled in, right? So that also is a problem. So you have to make sure, that we catch that, you know, at the factory, which you really can only do with visual inspection, but also to try to minimize. And this is my segue into what causes this, which is, you know, if you've cast dice, you can probably guess the number tore off of the mold, right? So if I switch back quickly to the picture-in-picture, right? So these are the molds we use for these guys, and you can see, if I can get the reflection just right, that we have the number negatives inside the cavities, right? Here's a 3, and so these, you know, they stick out, right? And because they're, you know, fairly big, they stick out a lot. And the problem with resin in general is that it shrinks a tiny amount when it cures, but it's enough to sort of like grab the silicone. And so when you demold, there's always a chance that it's going to tear the silicone. And this is something we mentioned in the last update that we were working through, because our molds were, not lasting enough cycles. These are fairly, big pieces of silicone, right? So they're not free. And so we want to make sure we are able to reuse those as many times as possible. And we were having an issue where the numbers on a couple of the faces, the 14 over here, which is in this mold, is over here, the 20, not so much, but every once in a while, but mostly the 14 and the 7, which is on this face here, ended up tearing after maybe 5 casting, which is not very many. And so this is something we tried to figure out a solution to for a good while, actually, trying different combinations of silicone. So in fact, the silicone factory was using a slightly softer silicone for the inside here and a harder silicone for the outside, and they're kind of like mixed, blended together, so that hopefully the numbers could sort of stretch and come out of the number cavities cleanly, but without losing the rigidity of the whole thing, so that we can clamp them together nicely, and the die wouldn't be, wouldn't go oval shaped, right? And we tried, and we got some better results with some combinations, etc. But overall, it still just was not quite happening. And so I'm going to show you the solution that the dice factory and the silicone factory came up with together, which is hold on, let's close this. Where's the picture? 1 second. Is it this one? Yes. Okay. So it's these molds. So these are blue just to make them, to differentiate them. There's no other reason than that. But the difference is when you flip to the next picture. Where's the next picture? There we go. When you flip to the back of the mold, there's like holes in here, right? And these little holes in the silicone are positioned to fit inside. Here, if I can go back 1 second, to fit inside these chunks of silicone. This big chunk here, and this big chunk here. So basically behind the 7 and the 14. And just by having that little extra holes in the silicone, it gives the face enough flex that now the number comes out cleanly. And they've like more than doubled the mold life cycles. We're still counting, basically, like they're still making more with these same molds, making more dice to see when it starts to break. But yeah, it's kind of a really strange fix. It completely works, and you can kind of see why, but it's still amazing that they figured this out. Because I was like, all right, well, maybe we should just I don't know, redo the numbers, make them bigger, or chamfer them some more, or something like that. And no, they figured it out. Like they can just, by removing a bit of silicone material from the mold, they're able to make it that it will demold more easily. So I thought I'd share this because it's kind of a fun, interesting, and really kind of out there example of manufacturing and the problems they have to solve. Let me get back to questions for a second. Let's see. On Twitch, Maquadelin, sorry if I butcher your pseudos. Would the balance change if you fill up the numbers with clear resin? Practically no, right? Theoretically, absolutely. Practically, no, not in any way that you would be able to measure. It's so little resin that you would have to roll millions of times to even notice a difference, and you would get unfairness from other sources much before that, right? Just the fact that an edge might be a little more rounded than another would mean that would change, would skew your results so much that the amount of resin on a face number would be clear, unnoticeable almost. Top. What about the fade dye? Is the result looking good? They have a flat face. Will they have an LED there? They do, actually. So because we're trying to save here, let me switch back to the pipcam. Because we're trying to save on the number of boards we make, the Fate and 4 and 6. I need a 6. Let's do 6. Hello. There we go. Fate 4 and 6, they actually all use the exact same core. So the Fate has an LED on the flat face, right? We'll just basically turn it off, right? Just use animations that don't have it on most of the time, but I don't see any reason to make it a hard sort of block. Like if you want to use the LED, why not? Same thing here. For the 4, it has LEDs on the ends, which is kind of fun when it lights up. Kind of does a weird thing. And again, we'll just make it that all the sort of standard profiles won't use those 2 LEDs, but nothing will prevent you from using them. And yeah, I think the 4, once we sort of do the same treatment on the counterweight to hide it a little bit more, will look really, really sharp. I think it's gonna be nice. By the way, the clears, I don't think we're gonna paint the coils or the counterweight if we can, because the point is to see the inside, so why, right? The numbering, the inking the number, it really means that you can read it at all, so I think that's worth it. But I think it's cool to see the inside, so why paint it? Let's see. Question from Aqua 590. That's great that you have manufacturing partners who are thinking critically and actively involved. Yes. Again, I'm going to say that I'm super thankful for these and our entire team in China. And by entire team, I mean there's a couple people, but because these are problems that either we're not qualified to fix here, or even if we are, it would take time to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, especially with the 12-hour delay, time difference. Sorry, it would be very very difficult for some of those, whereas they can just sort of solve the problems right away. Let me think. One more question here before I move on. What's the fade dye? I didn't see that before somehow. Also, are all the 4s that shape, or are you making standard pyramids too? No pyramid. And the reason we are making the 4s this shape is because of internal volume. So, we have to fit essentially, a battery that's like cylindrical, and some circuit board around it, etc. And on a standard pyramid shape, Caltrop D4, there's actually not a lot of volume, right? Like for that shape, the die would have to be so much bigger to actually fit that stuff in. So instead, we aimed for a sort of a stretch D6, right? It's a little bit thinner than a D6, but by not even a millimeter, I think. And it's got these pyramids on the ends to make it clear that it's just a D4. In the future, who knows, right? Entirely likely we'll make different size dice, like chunky D20s, and maybe we can make an actual pyramid D4, but it would be quite a bit bigger, because again that shape, the tetrahedron, is the most inefficient in terms of internal space. But yeah, we'd love to make more dice, D4, D100, D whatever. That would be crazy. It would be absolutely awesome. But yeah, so Fate, and by the way, Fate are these dice. I think they're called Fudge, and Fate is actually a game system, like a specific game system. But they're dice with plus and minus, and nothing. And the game is played, by rolling a bunch of these, whatever game system, and then you count the pluses and the minuses and whatever. I'm not sure. I haven't actually done that. Let's see. What about the Pixels lamp with transparent resin? I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, we can make a lamp. All right. Anyway, let me get back to sort of the remaining updates. And I think, in fact, I've probably covered most of the stuff I wanted to show. I do want to talk briefly about oh no, I did actually Pledge Manager. Yeah, I mentioned Pledge Manager. So I don't have to talk about this again. I'll be returning to China. That's the next big update. Not exactly sure when, but very soon. Essentially, the last time I went, I sort of oversaw, quote unquote, the D20s. And so now that we are, moving forward with the other sizes, and we've worked through, most of the assembly problems. Oh, I lost my lights. Hold on. Let's try again. Most of the, folding issues and mold problems, etc. We're finally going to, be able to start getting those made at scale, meaning probably want to go over there and, oversee the last remaining issues and, work through the remaining problems, teach the workers how to do the folding and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so we'll probably post an update when that happens, and we'll try to not skip the streams. Last time it was a little too difficult for me to do a live stream from there, but I'm hoping the next time I go I'll be able to do that. I think it would be fun, and hopefully I can even do it like from the factory floor or something exciting like that. But yeah, I think things are moving well. I know everybody's, sad that the dice are not already out for delivery. I know that, you guys have all been extremely, extremely patient with us, and I'm very thankful for that. And I really hope that, the fact that we're showing our progress, every month, showing that things are happening is, allowing you guys to keep confidence in the project. And know that your dice are coming soon. We'll have lots of exciting things to share. When we open the Pledge Manager, we'll make sure to probably cover it in a live update or something like that. We'll have some fun little surprises here and there for you guys. And hopefully everything, continues to move as well as it has lately. I am doing everything I can so that you guys can get these dice in your hands, because they are really, really awesome. So with that, I'm gonna basically switch back to the few remaining questions, and if if people start falling out, then I'll probably end the stream in 10, 15, 20 minutes. We'll see what happens. But yeah, in the meantime, just enjoy the clickety clack. And let me go over to answer some of the questions. Here's a note from Top. The core for the D4s is very interesting. This could help visually impaired people either way. That is correct. It would. Oh, thank you, Will Graham's on Twitch. Saying I would rather have high quality dice that take longer. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really excited about some of the battery changes, actually, just because it just means that those dice are going to last so much longer. It's great, you know, even though I've always told people, well, it's going to be years before the dice even start sort of, you know, not holding as much charge. The fact that we got a much better battery, and now the less power hungry LEDs means you're going to be able to really have a fun for much longer, and you'll be tired of the dice before they go bad. So let me see. Mike Dilling, could there be custom dice faces for specific game systems in the future, like Fate dice? Yes. How many, which ones, how much it'll cost, etc. I do not know. Fortunately, we're trying to make the mold system such that we can develop new dice faces, you know, fairly inexpensively, all things considered, right? But when I mean inexpensively, meaning that we could make our money back with, you know, a few 10,000 dice, not, you know, a million, right, on the tooling. So but yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential in offering more, you know, variety in the dice and the faces, maybe just, you know, different designs. There's tons of really fun what am I calling like designs for, like, you know, more sci-fi ish looking dice that could use, you know, the interplay of light and opaque way more than we do here. Imagine like a Tron inspired, or you know, just sci-fi lights and panels and things, you know, numbering system that could really play well with the pixel light system. So yes, most definitely we are planning to offer this, but, you know, one thing at a time, of course. Jay said, oh no, sorry, I already covered that. Thank you. William. It's been so cool watching the progress of these dice, seeing how much work has to go into making the best product possible. Well, thank you so much. We just know that we're doing everything we can. There's, you know, even more complexities that I don't really mention, only because it's kind of boring or difficult to say, like, oh, you know, the validation rate on, you know, some of the components on the charger is not what we expect, so we need to change, you know, this and this and that. Or like, it's like, okay, well, we're just, you know, we're working on it and making it the best we can. But yeah, I think you know, we're doing our best to pay attention to detail without, you know, trying to not go overboard, right? It's also difficult. It's also important to remember that, you know, perfect is the enemy of good, right? So we at some point have to be okay with, you know, some trade-offs, right? And you know, knowing where those are is the difficult part. But I think we're on a good path, and I'm really excited. Let's see. YouTube. On Twitch. Acilator. Are you thinking of putting some sort of rejected dice with our normal orders? I would hate to see them all thrown out, kind of like the little gift just for fun. That is a very interesting question. I had not thought about it at all. I don't know. It would be fun. You know, if we do, it would be something that we wouldn't guarantee, right? And it'll also depend on what number, you know, what the quantities are that we have. Yeah. You know, the goal is to have 0 rejects. So, and to some extent, they, the resin factory can redo a lot of defects, right? So, like, for instance, one of the dice that I showed that had the number 14 messed up, they would just, you know, send it all the way down as far as they can and recast it, right? Because it's still worth the time and effort for them to do that. But, you know, if that doesn't work, then we would figure something to do with it. You know, if nothing else, we can send those as, free dev kits basically to developers at that time, or figure something like that. They're not going to be just thrown out and thrown in the trash. Let's see. Top. Without LEDs on, what's the estimated lifetime with a full charge? Let me do the math really quickly. If you're constantly using Bluetooth, right? So if you're connected and sending role information, and so you're not particularly trying to save power, like recording roles and then sending them, or etc. Like if you're just constantly connected to Bluetooth, you consume about 40 microamp per hour, or 40 microamp, and the battery is 65 milliamps, milliamp hour, right? So if let's say even, okay, maybe you boost the power to 65 microamps, right? So that's 1,000 hours of rolling. Sorry. Yeah, would that be 1,000 hour? 110 microamp? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's correct. Did I say that right? Yeah, it's like, but it's along those lines. It could be off by a factor of 2 or 3, but at that point, it's you're talking, yeah, less than 1/10 of a milliamp, and the battery can hold 65 milliamps, right? So, or milliamp hours. So, yeah, you're in the hundreds of hours, probably. Yeah, I'd have to double check. We'd have to run numbers, but yeah, I know. I know. For instance, I've done tests with early non-optimized version of the dice for like over 10,000 rolls, right? So yeah, I think the lifespan would be pretty high. Again, what consumes the most power is the LEDs. Will Grams, I hope the Kickstarter funds have been able to pay enough such that you guys are making profit from the campaign. All this work is nuts and there's just to be profitable. Well, thank you. We have the same hope. So, and we're hoping, in fact, to continue to make and sell pixels after we finish fulfillment. One of the things I mentioned is, we are going to open pre-orders, so hopefully by the time that happens, you will have heard a ton more, because we'll be being a lot more vocal on social and all that stuff. We've been mostly keeping quiet and just doing our monthly updates with you guys, because we're just heads down doing the work. But once we're ready, we'll most definitely be out there more, and hopefully be able to get plenty of pre-orders and then orders, and be a awesome business for all of us, and maybe eventually get into a brick and mortar store. That would be kind of a fun thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily make sense in the long run, in the medium run, for us to want to be in stores. Direct sales is the best for us, but it would be fun to be in D&D stores, RP, role-playing stores and stuff. Actually, you see pixels there. That'd be super, super fun. But anyway, Ola Ekren, is there an expectancy how many times the battery can be recharged before it fails? So it's in a few thousand of cycles, right? Most of the LiPo batteries will be rated for 1,000 cycles, but that's 1,000 cycles before it drops to 80% charge, right? So that's the thing to remember, is that it's not a sort of a drastic cliff, right? It's just that, okay, after you've recharged your dice 1,000 times, maybe it'll only hold 80% of the initial capacity. That's still gonna have you, gonna give you hours of play, right? Every time. So I think really, unless you're using your dice 24/7, you're not gonna hit that for years. You know, even if you recharged it, I'd say 3 times a day, which there's no reason you should have to. But you know, if you just kept LEDs on all the time, used them as flashlights or whatever, and then ended up having to recharge them, let's say 3 times a day, you know, it would still take you a full year to reach 1,000 recharge cycles. And this was the spec on the previous version of the battery, so the new one's probably even better than that. So yeah, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to see a noticeable drop in how long the charge lasts for years. Yeah, let me see if there is anything else. Otherwise, let's see if there's something I didn't mention. Oh yeah, actually, speaking of battery, we probably will end up doing something similar to what I think you can do on most phones now, which is show you like the battery health. Because again, you know, the dice are smart, so there's no reason they couldn't track how many times they've been recharged, at least approximately, because technically you could recharge a die without it being on. Whatever, detail. But essentially, meaning, you know, there's no, yeah, we'll probably end up doing some sort of, you know, battery health thing or something like that, and telling, you know, and showing you like how long the dice lasted on average, and you know, there's just so much room for like fun little statistics to show users that I think we're gonna take advantage of. We haven't, because it's not a high priority at this point. We're just focusing on the basics, you know, being able to customize your dice, you know, writing all the libraries for, you know, giving access to developers on all the different platforms, and you know, all of this stuff. So, you know, for the moment, essentially, just know that, yeah, the batteries will last for several hours of regular play every time, and then you'll be able to charge them thousands of times before you notice any significant degradation. And even then, it's not going to be a completely like just, oh, it won't take a charge anymore. Right? It'll just be, yeah, it doesn't hold as much. Let's see, anything else? No. Colorways, yeah, I mentioned the colors, numbers. Super excited that you guys like the coloring as well. Yeah, clear dice are awesome. The Aurora dice are awesome too. Yeah, they look so much different. It's really noticeable. It's kind of fun. It's this diffuse color, right? Like you can see, like this is like all lit up. Of course, you know, it's still blown out a little bit by the camera, but yeah, it's like insane how the light sort of shines very differently in these. And then if I can grab some of the, yeah, this one, right, in these, the light shines through the number, so you can, you know, the advantage is you can read it when it shines, and it's a very different look. So it's all really cool. Whoop. All right, anything else? I'm just, you know, waiting, seeing if there anything is coming as questions. Wood grounds, can you put them in a case without recharging? All those cycles can't be good for the battery. Yeah, I mean, if you don't plug it in, it's not going to recharge. But also, they are, there's a battery charger on the die. It will not charge it unless it's necessary. Well, no, I take that back. It won't do the really smart thing of like, oh, it's only 80%. This one at least is not that smart. The large charging case is currently not that smart, but there is no, not sure yet. It has, you know, it is able to communicate with the dice. It could be smarter and say like, okay, you are, you know, still high enough, I'm not going to recharge you, kind of thing. We'll see. Not guaranteed, but something it could do. But yeah, the simple case, which is the one that comes with all the singles, essentially, yeah, you just don't plug it in and it won't recharge. Or only charge the battery to 85%. Yes, good. I mean, they're all excellent suggestions, Will Grant. That's totally what we do for a lot of devices. Do they sink or float? Yuma, that is a great question. They sink. I don't think that has changed. I did put some underwater early on. They're completely, waterproof, obviously, because there's no exposed anything. But yeah, I don't think there's any difference. They're pretty heavy, so my guess is that they do sink. Let's see. Yeah, large charging case. Yep. Will you be able to buy cases separately? Yes. So we have plan to offer separate, large cases, small cases, and different. In fact, also different colors for the large case. You will have to swap the plastic part yourself, right? The case is built so it's easy to take apart, and so we'll actually, by default, all the kits or all the singles will come with black. There's something that was decided during the campaign, but by default they'll come out with black. But we will sell basically the plastic part, like I can't remember what we called it, like a skin, not a skin, but like the shell, essentially, as a kit for you to just replace and change the color. That does mean, however, you won't be able to replace these inserts. These inserts are going to remain black for the moment, and the reason for that is purely cost, because we have to make, these are all D20 inserts, but we have to make all the different sizes, and if we had to make all the sizes in all the colors, it'd be a huge pain. So and also, keeping track of that inventory and making sure we have everything. So when you get a case, it will come with, when you get a set, it will come with the inserts for the dice that it comes with, right? Obviously, and a cap for the last one. And if you want to change the color of the case, you'll be able to buy basically what are currently the white parts in this one. So you'll be, essentially it'll come black, but you'll be able to make something that looks more like this one if you wanted. These inserts for all the different die sizes will not offer those at first. But yeah, and then also you'll be able to buy a case separately. Every single die you buy, like if you buy an individual die, will come with its own little single charger, which also has the insert that you could take and then put inside this case if you need. What else was I going to say about that? I forgot. But anyway, so yeah, we have, I think we've covered mostly everything. Yes. It just says they still sync. Yep. All right. So it would be super cool to be Ola Ekregren. Sorry. Would be super cool to be able to set in session time the app, and it keeps the dice charged to handle that playtime, but not have to fully charge them. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I have to think about this, actually, how to exactly do that. But yeah, there's no reason. Yes, so the large charging case that I'm showing, these are still 3D printed, right? Because we're doing all the fit verification, and so that's why it doesn't look so great. Compared to like this material, which is like, this is PC plus ABS or something like that. This is really nice. It's got a really nice texture to it, so it'll look, and it feels solid. These are little snap-ins. The large charging case actually changed the way it closes. It now has a little button, and so it actually clicks in. This is because we found that the magnets give us some trouble, and also we couldn't get it would be difficult to manufacture the magnet holders. I think I have the previous version. So the previous version, actually this one doesn't even have it, was supposed to have magnets, you know, in the corners to be a magnet close. It wasn't reliable enough. So anyway, so the design has progressed, and so now it's a little, you know, nice little click, kind of like a glasses case, except you can remove the lid. Has little notches here. So yeah, I can't wait for this to be made out of real plastic. The tooling for this is in the process of being made. So hopefully, you know, those things still take months, so maybe it's going to be another month to get the tooling made, but it's in process. So hopefully we'll have cool looking large charging cases to show pretty soon. And on this note, I may, let me see. That was a reassuring snap of the case. Let's say that. Oh yeah, the rubble. Yeah, exactly. That's something that I really like much better than the previous version. So it sounds really nice. And even with 3D printed parts, right? So yeah, I think it's gonna be really nice. This one, yeah, this one is a nice snap. Oop. So what are the LEDs of the case indicating? Oh yeah, I keep showing this. So yeah, this one is blinking right now. It's in some weird validation mode. It has 3 RGB LEDs, and it is still TBD what exactly they are indicating. There's a button here as well. Oops, sorry. There's a little button here. So, you know, probably when you press it, it'll show you battery level of the case itself. You know, if you press it a couple times or you do long press, it can do something else. And then it'll probably also show when you put a die down, even though the die itself tells you that it's, you know, started charging, it may also do something here. So yeah, if you have suggestions for, you know, this user interface, 1 button and 3 RGB LEDs, yeah, I'm all ears. This case is also Bluetooth, by the way, so it will also communicate with the app on your phone. And so, you know, there's a bunch of information there that it'll be able to share, mainly its own battery level, so that it can tell you like, hey, you should plug me in. And if you plug it in, of course, it'll continue to charge and charge itself at the same time. You know, the stuff you would expect, right? So, but yeah, the you know, LEDs obviously are going to indicate charge. Here, you know, yeah, it's blown out by the camera, and also because the 3D printed white is kind of translucent. But there's little light pipes that actually make it shine through here. And yeah, you know, show charge status indicator using the numbers and maybe the color as well, although we have to be careful how we use color. And then when you do the button, it might do something or something else. We'll see. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be great. And then, you know, it's just a great way to carry your dice with you. So when you have a whole set. And on this note, I think that is probably it. I think I'm gonna say thank you to everyone, and thank you for sticking around. I hope you're all as excited about the dice as we are, and I hope I was able to answer enough questions and give enough updates for you guys. So on this note, I will let you go, end the stream, and I guess next update will be a written update, and after that, hopefully I'll be a live stream. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for sticking around. I hope everyone has a fantastic day and a fantastic week. And on this note, I will go. Bye.